Everyone, it has been an awesome time so far. God is just honestly so good. I was debating on how I was going to start talking because you'll see in a few minutes, and I was like, I don't know if there's going to be people like believers in here. It's a college. I don't know what to expect. So I thank God for Him already taking care of it. I said, God, you just go before me. And He has. And I just see it in everyone's talk. The speakers, you all have been amazing. So I thank God for this opportunity. So real quick, I'm going to take you to church really quick. I want you to turn to your neighbor and I want you to tell them you are already resilient.
You are already resilient.
Okay, make sure everyone was told you are already resilient. The simple fact that you are in this room, you showed up today, you are already resilient. You are here seeking knowledge, growth, and leadership, and this proves something about you. It proves that despite the obstacles, the challenges, the doubts, the moments of uncertainty, despite the moments you felt like giving up, you still moved forward. I remember being in college, and I remember the sacrifices that I had to make. I'm sure many of you have had to juggle responsibilities, and you've shown up even when it wasn't easy. That is proof alone that you are resilient. It is truly an honor to be here today, standing in a room full of leaders, change makers, thinkers, and even entrepreneurs. When I was asked to speak about Black leadership and resilience, I had to take a moment, just like some of you, and reflect on what does resilience truly mean. Because if we're going to carry on this legacy of Black leadership, we must be deeply rooted in resilience. Resilience isn't something that I would say that it's just where we survive, but it's about adapting, learning, and pushing forward, even when things seem impossible. Every great leader has had to master resilience. And again, I'm going to say every great leader has had to master resilience. The question is how will you in this room, how will you shape your own resilience into something powerful? So I want to take a couple of moments to just talk about the 3 key elements that I believe will help you to be rooted in resilience. And that's perspective, perseverance, and patience. Perspective. Each of us in this room come from different backgrounds, different experiences, different struggles, but one thing that we share is the ability to choose how we see ourselves and how we see challenges. Your perspective determines whether a challenge will break you or it will build you. Think about it. Have you ever looked at someone and admired how successful they are and then assumed that they never struggled? Sometimes, a lot of times, that's the first thing that we do. We look at their successes, but we never really look at their struggle. And then we start thinking, you know what, they must be built differently. But the truth is that they weren't. What set them apart is that they had a view of their obstacles, and that was they saw it as stepping stones and not barriers. The other day, as I was preparing for this talk, I found myself thinking about leaders, especially those who were in the times of segregation and slavery. And I had to wonder, what was it within them that helped them to continue their fight, even through all the struggles? What gave them the will to just keep going despite all the things that they faced? And I began to watch documentaries, began to do research, and I still couldn't come up with truly a clear definition as to what made them keep going. So then I asked someone that I personally know who I see as being resilient, and I asked them, I said, what does it mean for you to be resilient? What do you feel resilience is to you? And he looked and he thought for a moment and he started to laugh and he said, actually, honestly, I don't see myself as resilient. I honestly was just trying to survive and was going through life, I was having fun and caught a glimpse of what success could look like, and I kept going. A glimpse. Many times that's all we can see is a glimpse. I believe that not only can we relate to that statement, but other leaders could relate to that statement, because many of us don't see ourselves as resilient because we're just trying to survive. I realize it isn't about how you feel in that moment, but it's about pushing forward. Think about it. Harriet Tubman, Madam C.J. Walker, Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass, Ida B. Wells, they didn't always have this certainty. They didn't always have this full picture. But what they had was a glimpse of something greater, a glimpse of freedom, a glimpse of justice, a glimpse of opportunity, a glimpse of equality, a glimpse of breaking generational cycles. And they kept going, even when the odds were stacked against them. So today, I ask you, we're talking about perspective. What is your glimpse? What is that thing that you see that keeps you moving forward? Resilience starts with perspective. If you see challenges as barriers, they will stop you. But if you see them as preparation, you will push through. So what is your glimpse? What is that thing that keeps you pushing forward even when it gets hard? Some of you in the room, and we've heard the stories of some of the speakers in here, and I'm sure many of you have stories and struggles that you've gone through. You've had moments where you've questioned if you were good enough or if you belonged in spaces that you were in. But I'll tell you today, I've had that same question. God, do I really belong in this room where I'm the only black? And I will tell you, you do belong. You have to know who you are. And sometimes in the beginning, you don't know who you are, but you'll begin to know who you are. And you'll start seeing what you're capable of. The way you see yourself will dictate the way you see opportunities, challenges, and even success. So I ask you, are you seeing yourself as capable? Are you seeing yourself or your challenges as something you can overcome? Because the truth is, your perspective will either fuel your success or it'll hold you back. The second key element that I believe that will keep you rooted in resilience is perseverance. I believe that you can have the right perspective, but without perseverance, success will always feel out of reach. As some of you already mentioned, life will test you. And I mean, life will test you. I think I heard the one young lady say, life be lifing. I hear the young people say that all the time. And that's the truth. Life will throw things your way and not ask for permission. But the question is during those moments, what will you choose? Push forward or give up? I remember whenever I was in nursing school and I was trying to juggle everything. I was going through clinicals, having exams, working a full-time job. I was a wife, being a mother of 5 at the time, serving in my church, going to extracurricular activities, showing up for my community. I was drowning in responsibilities. And I remember coming home from clinicals one day and I just fell to the floor, face down, and I just began to cry and cry and cry. I cried and I prayed, I cried and I prayed. And I remember I got up, wiped my face. That's all I can remember. But one thing I can tell you is I kept going. And now I'm standing here, 15 years in nursing, 9 years as a nurse practitioner, and 1 year owning my own business and still working a full-time job and still doing all the things I mentioned before. I think back to that night because even now, when I feel like giving up, I remember that I've been here before and I kept going by the grace of God. We often think resilience is about being strong all the time, but true resilience is about continuing even when you don't feel strong. When you push through hardship, you gain something very valuable, and that is proof that you can do the hard things. The truth is, perseverance is what makes the difference, should I say. Talent alone, I believe, won't get you there, because I know many people that I've grown up with who's had great talents. They belong in the NBA, belong on, in the NFL, or they can be inventors. But the difference is that they did not have perseverance. Just think, Rosa Parks, Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, many of these leaders, they weren't just gifted, but they endured. So when things get hard, and trust me, they will, you have to push forward. You can't stop. Every great leader you admire, just remember, they've had to endure some difficult things. Perseverance isn't just about bouncing back, but it's about pushing forward despite what's in your way. Last, but definitely not least, patience. That is one lesson that has been hard for me to learn, is learning to be patient. We live in such a fast-paced world where we want success now, we want results now. But the truth is that meaningful success takes time. I remember a year ago when I was getting ready to launch my own practice. I'm from Aetna, so I've been there my whole life. And so I've been a nurse practitioner there for 9 years. But I decided to launch a practice 2 hours away from home where no one knew me. And so my mentor was telling me, Ashley, look, it's gonna take you 1 to 3 years for you to really start seeing some growth. So it's gonna require you to be patient. Well, I knew this because, of course, I've watched my husband over the last 15 years grow his business, and he often tells me, Ashley, you gotta be patient. But was I trying to listen? No, I was not trying to listen. I wanted growth now. I remember the first 2 months of opening the practice, I had 2 calls. In that moment, I began to question every decision that I made. I started trying to come up with a plan. Well, maybe I should move the practice back home so that when there's people there who know me, this will grow faster. But now here I am, 1 year in, and I can see why patience is so necessary. If I had taken off too fast, I wouldn't have been ready. If my business had taken off immediately, I wouldn't have been prepared for the responsibilities that came with it. I needed to grow into it. So just think, I believe that success requires patience. In order for you to be rooted in resilience, I believe that it requires patience. Tyler Perry faced rejection for years before he built his entertainment empire. Katherine Johnson spent years at NASA before she gained the recognition she deserved. Patience isn't just waiting, but it is about you moving forward step by step, but also trusting the process. Remember, patience is also a time where we can grow into the leaders that we were meant to be. So in my closing, I want you to remember you are already resilient. You have got to have the right perspective, learn to persevere, and definitely don't forget, you have to be patient. So I
don't know. You know. And knowing what you do now, you would still do exactly the same thing because you can't help yourself. You would do it because that's who you are, Lucy. Thank God.
So when life throws curveballs at you, you have to remember, you have to remember that you were built for this. Keep going. You're already resilient. You just have to remember to persevere, have the right perspective, and most of all, be patient. Thank you.
Thank you.